Hello and welcome to vlog 2 of following my HRCYED experience. Sorry if I'm whispering a little bit, I'll try and adjust the sound, but it's very late at night. My family is asleep. I'm trying to keep it that way. But I'm trying to decide what prompt I want to do for my second vlog. My previous vlog, I finished the June and July for the 60 days after a new release. So I've got plenty of options. I think I'm gonna go with one of the more specific ones, so not any of the like page number options. So I've got my trusty board of all the books I've read so far for it. And I'm just trying to decide. I don't feel like doing enough of the research to figure out Heritage Month or adaptations. Rainbow would be easy with colors. There's Around the World, which I guess it kind of depends on what I'm in the mood to read. I have a couple other reading challenges I'm trying to finish. My local library does a summer reading challenge. One of my local bookstores also does a reading challenge that if you complete their bingo board, then you can enter into a bunch of raffles and drawings and stuff. So my goal would be to hopefully be able to check off a bunch of things on that as well, because that I have to turn in at some point in August, I think. So, I could do translation. I could do subgenres. I think I'm gonna do sci-fi for the subgenres category, because I do have quite a bit of sci-fi on my shelves, but I never seem to gravitate towards it and pick it up, so that might encourage me to pick some of those up. I guess I just need to bite the bullet and pick one. All right, we're gonna go with translation. So I need to read 5 books for the translation challenge, and the hang up to this is it has to be translated from a different language for each book. So I can't read, 5 books translated from Japanese or Korean or... So let's take a peek at my shelves and see what I've got. So my shelves are organized where the shelf that you're on directly behind you and the one directly to my right here are books that I've read. And then my small middle shelf there are unread, and no, this one. And this shelf is unread. And then it also continues over there are my unread books. So, books that I think that have been translated. I do know that Frederick Bachman is from the Netherlands? Where is he from? What is this translated from? Originally published in Swedish. So I could read one of these. I think I'm going to go with Britt Marie Was Here. I think this is going to be the one I start with, because again, this was translated from Swedish. And then I'm pretty sure the only Swedish translations I have on my shelves are Frederick Bachman, so that makes that easy. And all right, so let's just go down. My shelves are organized by alphabetical order. So I'm just kind of making my way down and picking up anything that I possibly could think is translated. Is this translated? Pretty sure this is Indian, but whether or not it was translated from like Hindi or Urdu. Okay, so at the very end of my TBR shelf, I have the Marigold Mind Laundry. This is Korean. And I have a couple other Korean like healing fiction books, but this one jumps out at me because it's very summery, and I feel that way since it's summer. And then I also have The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Rios Zafón, which is translated from Spanish. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I need one more. Give me a second while I figure out if I have one more. Okay, I found another one, but I'm making some adjustments. So I've got Britt Murray Was Here by Frederick Backman. This was translated from Swedish. It's book 1. I'm going to read Marigold Mine Laundry by Jung Yin Yoon. This is Korean. Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Rios Zafón, Spanish. And then I was going to read Uzumaki by Junji Ito for Japanese, but I'm going to trade it out for this one, the Kamagawa Food Detectives by Hisashi Kashiwai, because I did find this on my shelves, which this, I think it follows an Iranian family, but it was actually written and translated from French. So this is what I'm going to read for that, and it's also a graphic novel, so it fulfills one of the prompts for my local bookshop reading challenge. And that is 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is 5, because I was thinking about reading The Witcher, but because this was translated from Polish. But this actually works really well for the prompt about animals, because one of the animal prompts is barnyard animals. And for the most part, that's kind of hard to come up with. But I know Geralt, the main character, his horse is a big character in these books, and his horse is named Roach, and a horse is a barnyard animal. So I think I'm going to save this for that prompt. So I'm going to put this back. But these are, let me stack some more aesthetically. This is going to be my TBR for the translation challenge. So I don't know which one I'm going to read first. We'll find out when I decide to do that. But this is what I'm going to be reading over, hopefully, maybe the next 2 weeks. That's probably generous. We'll say 3 weeks. All right, so the first book I know I'm picking up for the translation is Britt Murray Was Here by Frederick Backman. Sorry, my son had me up to like 4 o'clock in the morning, so a little tired. But the first book I'm picking up for the translation challenge is Britt Murray Was Here by Frederick Backman. This was translated from Swiss? I always want to say Swedish, but I'm pretty sure, oh no, Sweden. I've read one other Frederick Backman. I read My Grandmother Told Me to Tell You She's Sorry. And I read that ages ago, but I remember loving it. It was a 5-star read. It was it was funny, but it made me cry, and I very rarely have much of an emotional response to books, but I'm already about almost halfway through, and it's just like the other one. It's so heartwarming and sad, and very realistic, and all of that all at the same time. And I don't know, something about his books just feel so real, even though it's just kind of like a slice of life. And a lot of the times a slice of life in a slice that's pretty, hard for someone, or they're going through something or a rough time. But it just seems so realistic and heartwarming in a sense that it kind of just, well, someone's going through something tough, that, humanity doesn't suck all the time. And there are people that are willing to be helpful and be accepting and, invite someone in. So I'm enjoying it. So I wouldn't be surprised if I finish this, I don't know, the next day or so. Whether or not I touch back before I finish it or not, we'll see. But I'm going to continue with this. I'm listening to it on an audiobook. His audiobooks are phenomenal. The woman that does them is so funny. She just, I don't know, delivers the humor perfectly. So I'm going to continue listening to this while I continue working on my daughter's hammock for her toys, and I'll touch base either when I'm done or maybe when I've got like 100 pages left. We'll see how I'm feeling. If I don't fall asleep before then. Bye for now. That is the biggest mushroom I think I've ever seen. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. It might not be good. Excuse the absolute stuffed animal mess that is behind me. It is Daddy's day off with the kids, so we've had quite the tornado of toys. But last night I did finish. Britt Marie was here. So this was the Swedish translation I'm doing for the translation challenge. And I don't know why I always put off Frederick Bachman. I read one of his others before and loved it. And it just took me forever to pick up this one. And it was so good. I think I gave it like a 4.5 because I didn't love it quite as much as I remember loving My Grandmother Wants me to tell you I'm sorry. But I mean, his books are always they're funny and sad, terribly sad, but hopeful, and just give you this overwhelming feeling of community and connection with that community and hopefulness with that community in the face of adversity and tragedy and horrible things that happen in life. But also, I don't know, it just feels kind of like a warm hug and a blanket after something terrible has happened. So I have one other of his on my shelves still, a man called Uwe. I don't know exactly how it's supposed to be pronounced. So I do plan on picking that up. And then I do want to get his 2 new ones. Son is waking up for a nap, so let me wrap this up. But I loved this. I haven't quite decided what I'm going to read next. I think I might pick up Persepolis, which is a graphic novel. So maybe you'll see in the next clip or something whether or not I've decided on that, but that's what I'm leaning towards right now. So I'm gonna go get Gray and hopefully continue reading tonight after they've gone back to bed. Room because she's taken over my bed, so I'm sleeping in her bed tonight. But did start Persepolis. I'm enjoying it. It's a nonfiction graphic novel following Marjane Satrapi, who is the author. Makes sense, since it's a nonfiction memoir, who grew up in Iran, in Tehran, during the Islamic Revolution in the, what was it, this 70s-ish? You think I know because I am a good, I don't know, 100 pages in. I'm really enjoying it. It reminds me a lot of Mouse, volume 1 and volume 2, in the sense that for whatever reason, reading about very tragic and harsh events in a comic strip graphic novel form can make it more palatable. I don't want to say like otherwise it would be unreadable, but it can just be such hard subject matter that you kind of almost need this more easily digestible format in order to not just be completely depressed while reading it. And she does a really good job of mixing in humor with, you know, how as a kid who doesn't understand completely what is going on emotionally and politically and all that kind of stuff, but that she kind of did things or reacted in a certain way that might be seen as insensitive or strange. But again, being a child in such a tumultuous time period in history, none of us would ever know how we would react to such a situation until we live it, if we ever do. So I'm enjoying it, but because it is so heavy at times, I find that I'm having I don't want to just sit and like binge it, reading it in small chunks, because it can just get really overwhelming and it's very heavy. So I did also pick up Marigold Mind Laundry, and I'm also enjoying this. This is following a woman who kind of comes across that she's got these bizarre powers. One of her powers is that she can like bring anything into existence by just kind of like wanting it. And she also seems to be immortal, like she's gonna live at least a very long time, if not forever. But apparently when she was a cats always sometimes make you feel like you live in a haunted house when they just creak doors slowly open and then don't come into the room until invited, like little vampires that they are. Anyway, she at one point somehow made her parents disappear despite having a very loving relationship with them. I guess it was an accident. So she vows to try and find them and will live, or how's this? She vows to live a million lives in search for her parents. And in the process of doing this, she creates the Marigold Mind Laundry, which basically is this laundromat that people come in and they, these people then tell their stories about things that they might want to forget, tragic things that happened to them, regrets that they have, anything like that. And she transfers it to a t-shirt, and it looks like stains on the t-shirt, and then she launders it and erases these memories. So I think it's going to be a very kind of deep thought experiment into what our tragic and hard experiences in our lives, our sad experiences in our lives, actually do to make us whole people. They change who we are, create who we are as people. And just as important as it is for us to have our good experiences and our good memories, it is also important to hold on to our hard memories as well, because they make us who we are, is what I'm assuming this whole story is going to be talking about. But I am 65 pages into this and I'm enjoying it. So I'm kind of just hopping back and forth between these two. As this one gets a little rough to read, I move to this one. I do have a little book haul I could show you guys, but I have no energy to go into the other room and get them. So I will do that possibly tomorrow when I go to do an update. But I'm pretty tired because last night we were out late on a date night. In the clip B-roll before this, you probably saw the venue. We went and saw Josh Johnson. He's a comedian. He's on The Daily Show and he's hilarious. I love his stuff. And he was in Grand Rapids yesterday, so we went and saw him. Hence the roses that said "From Josh." My husband's name is not Josh. His tour is called the Flowers Tour, and they handed out roses that then had the tags that said "From Josh," which I thought was absolutely adorable. And we had a lot of fun, and it was really funny, and it was a nice night out, but it was probably the latest night out I've had since my kids were born, so I'm pretty tired. So I'm gonna maybe read a chapter in Marigold Mind Laundry and then get some sleep, and then hopefully catch up tomorrow or the day after with a finished book. Fingers crossed. updates have been a little bit sporadic going forward. It's been a bit chaotic. We are preparing to go on a 13-hour road trip to my brother's wedding out east. So wrapping up work, packing, figuring out vlog schedule and stuff. Been a little chaotic, but I'm here to do a little update. I've got about, I don't know, a quarter, maybe like 100 pages, maybe even less, of Marigold Mind Laundry. This is, I can't tell if this is just translation, not quite transitioning from Korean to English very well. I feel like this is gonna have, or is supposed to have, a deeper meaning. Like it's supposed to be able to, or it's supposed to say something more profound. But sometimes I find the language very simplistic. And again, I don't know if then that is just a translation like thing not going very well, because sometimes it's just like I feel like it's supposed to be saying something pretty profound about mental health, and sometimes the translation just comes across as like, just be happy. And then, you know, if anyone has ever dealt with anxiety or depression, just being told to be happy is like the worst thing someone could do. So again, I don't know if this is like just a mistranslation kind of not coming across very well, or if that's actually what it's saying and I just completely disagree with it, and that's why it's taking me a long time to get through a rather short book. But I'm gonna finish it. I'm not gonna DNF it, but it definitely isn't what I would call a great first read into the Asian healing fiction that I've been hoping to enjoy. So I will finish this, but I can't imagine, unless something completely wild happens in the last kind of quarter here, I don't imagine it's gonna get much more than 3 stars. On the other hand though, I am really enjoying Persepolis. I, again, have about a quarter left in this, but even though I'm enjoying this, it's been taking me a little longer to get through because it is rough. I mean, there was a chapter in this I read not that long ago that literally my stomach felt like it dropped out from underneath me because it was just so awful what had happened to this girl. And then just reminding yourself that this is nonfiction, this is a memoir, this actually happened, and makes your stomach just sink all over again. But I should be able to finish this. I want to finish both of these before we end up on our road trip. Because I want those to be done before we leave for the road trip, I did want to find an audiobook for the drive that I could listen to while we're driving. And I was curious because this is the longer of the 2 that I have left to read then. And I had no idea that this, when he was writing this, he actually wrote it, a good chunk of it, sitting at his piano and composed music to go along with the book. So when you listen to it on audio, it includes the music he composed while writing this. And I had never heard that before, so I'm really glad that I actually looked up the audiobook, because now I am incredibly excited to listen to this. And I'll do that on the drive out east. So I'm gonna listen to this on the 13-hour drive, and I'll probably get it done, if not on the way there, on the way back. And while we're there, I'm going to physically read the Food Detectives, the Kamigawa Food Detectives, because again, this is like barely, not even 200 pages, if not, yeah, barely 200 pages. So I should be able to finish this, you know, while sitting by the pool. So that's my plans for the rest of the books for this vlog. But I did pick up some more books that were on my kind of reading list for the fall, and I just happened to pick up because they were on sale. So I thought I'd do a little bit of a book haul here. But I did pick up the 4 Ruined Realms by Mai Corland. This is a sequel to 5, what's it called? 5 something? Oh, it's right over here. 5 Broken Blades. And I enjoyed it. I might need to reread the first one before I continue because I don't remember it too well. And then Barnes & Noble was having their 50% off hardcovers, and this was on it. And this has got some really pretty... Oh, I didn't even realize that that is stunning. So I was very excited to pick this up for half price. Because again, not only are hardcovers just expensive now, but when they're beautiful like this and able to get them for half price, it makes it even better. So I'm excited to continue on in this series. My book of the month for August was also Immortal Consequences by Ivy Marie. Again, another very stunning edition with the sprayed edges. This, I believe, is like a magic school, which again sold it to me pretty quickly. I also picked up Don't Let the Forest In for a future challenge for the HRCYED. Oh, I didn't even look at the back cover of this. This is stunning. So really excited for this. This was just one of the read-along books for Gavin's Patreons, and I feel like most of them gave it a higher rating. And then I'm actually also very excited for this. This is Immortal Consequences by Linling Huang. This is the same author that wrote Natural Beauty, and I loved that book. She writes kind of contemporary horror. I loved Natural Beauty, and I told myself anything else she writes in the future I will automatically pick up whether I've read the synopsis or not, and that is the case for this one. So I'm very excited to pick this up. And I think this is unhealthy friendship. Like one of the girls in the friendship kind of develops an obsession with the other. And I think obsession in horror is one of my favorite tropes. So I'm very excited to read this. And then I also picked up the final book in the, I don't know what you want to call this series, the Chainsaw, the Indian Lake trilogy by Stephen Graham Jones. The first one in this is My Heart is a Chainsaw, and I really, really liked it. I read that a couple years ago, so probably again need to reread it before I read the second and then the third one. Very excited to read this. I love Stephen Graham Jones. Again, an auto-buy author for me. But, so a nice little haul. Done, I think, a bit of damage because they are all hardcovers. So probably going to take a break from buying here and maybe try and find the rest of the books I'm going to read for my autumn TBR at the library before I purchase anything else. But that's just a quick update. I will probably hop back in before we leave on our trip to tell you about how I felt about these two when I hopefully finally finish them either today or tomorrow. So I think once the kids go to bed today, I'm just going to sit down and try and bang out one of these at least. All right, I'm going to go try and get my sleep-drunk toddler to take a nap because she was up at 4:30 this morning and is refusing to sleep. And I think she's just at that point now where she doesn't know what's going on. So I'm gonna go take care of that, and I'll see you guys later. Oh. Let's maybe not. Here, can we put this right here? Is that better? Okay. Sorry. Use non-toxic. Even me out. He's having trouble. Beautiful. Hello. Hello, Hippo. Please ignore the bombshell that is my bedroom. We're in the middle of packing for our road trip that we leave for tomorrow at like 2 o'clock in the morning. So everything's a bit strewn all over the place. But I did finish both of these in the last couple days. So I'm gonna kind of go over how I felt about these. This I gave don't know, 2.75. I definitely didn't enjoy it as much as I had hoped. I still stand by that. I feel like the translation wasn't done super well. Again, something that I felt like was going to have very pretty, very impactful writing felt very overly simplified. I don't know, if things hit more heavily in its native language of Korean, then maybe the translation somewhere in that translation, it got lost. I just found myself getting really bored because it just felt very repetitive, because each chapter was her like going with a new person to try and figure out like what memories they wanted washed out. So it just, again, felt very repetitive, and all the characters kind of started to blend into like one person. They didn't feel very uniquely different. So I was just kind of losing my place, not holding my interest. So like really when I got to the last like 50 pages, I ended up skipping it because I couldn't be bothered. I'm definitely not done with healing fiction. I think it is something I will enjoy. I will say it might partially be on my end too, because I'm actually in the process of changing some of my anxiety meds. I'm diagnosed OCD, so I take some SSRIs to help manage my OCD, and I'm in the process of changing dosages, and I feel like it is very much affecting my ability to feel emotions. So I feel like maybe reading healing fiction, which is supposed to bring out the empathy in you, might not be the wisest thing to do right now, despite the fact that I'm going to pick up another one kind of immediately. But maybe we'll see if that's the case, or if that is, you know, just something I didn't enjoy. But the other one I finished was Persepolis. This I ended up giving 3.75. I really enjoyed the first half of this when she was still in Iran. I found it very enlightening and educating about the Islamic Revolution that happened in Iran in the 70s. And I mean, it was heartbreaking. I started to lose my interest some once she left to go live in Europe for a while as a teen to finish out school. And at that point, it kind of felt no longer a discussion about the war or what war does to you, or what being an immigrant or an Iranian woman is like in a European country. It kind of just focused more, I feel like, on just the typical teenager finding yourself kind of a thing, and, you know, who your friends are and where you fit in. And, you know, it was a little different than I think most people's experiences, just because she is Iranian in Austria, where most people are white. But it just didn't have quite as gripping of a storytelling as it did in the first half. So again, I very much enjoyed it. I feel like I learned a lot from it, but it didn't have quite the pull it had on me when I first started it. But again, I would completely recommend it. It's a fast read. It's a great graphic novel. Definitely worth the time. Going forward, like I said, tomorrow morning we leave at like 2 o'clock in the morning. We like to do that on long road trips because then hopefully the kids sleep for a good portion of it, because they're still pretty tired. With our luck though, they're going to be bouncing off the walls at 2 o'clock in the morning when we're still half asleep, but you know, fingers crossed. And I'm going to start listening to The Shadow of the Wind. And then I'm also going to bring the Kamigawa Food Detectives to read physically. I'll have both of those done by the end of the road trip, especially the audiobook. I'm hoping to have that done, at least, because it's a 13-hour drive out there and back. So with 20 plus hours in the car, I should have a good dent in that done, if not finished, by the time I get back. But hopefully we'll have some cute B-roll of my brother's wedding. He gets married on Saturday, Saturday, and I'm very excited about it. Got my nails did. This lighting doesn't do them justice, but they're incredible. And hopefully some happy clips of the drive instead of us all crying because we're miserable. But I'll see you then. I'm home from our road trip and read practically nothing over those 4 days we were gone. The car rides were a little bit more involved with the kids than I anticipated, so I didn't get a chance to listen to much of my audiobook. But now that we're home, kind of back on a regular schedule, and I've started listening to The Shadow of the Wind. and mixed feelings. So the audiobook narrator, fantastic. He's very so good and definitely keeps me engaged. His voices are great. Really enjoying it. And when it comes to the mystery of the book, so like the whole, I'm kind of trying to get an idea of what this book's main objective or story is. But basically, this boy at a very young age goes to the cemetery of books with his father and picks out a book. And he ends up with this book called The Shadow of the Wind, that then it is his job to like keep and protect in some way. And this mysterious stranger keeps like showing up in his life to try and get this book from him because he wants to burn it. This dude has just been going around finding any books by this author and burning them. So we don't really know why he's doing that yet. But this mystery I find very intriguing and I want to know more of. But at the same time, it's kind of a coming of age story with our main character, Daniel. That part I'm not as interested in. There's, again, with any like boys coming of age story, there's lots of talk about women and, you know, dating and starting to get involved in sexual exploitations and all that kind of stuff, which whatever, fine. But again, I can't tell if it's just because of when this book is taking place, which is the 1950s, early 1950s, or if it's just some predilection of the author, or if it's a cultural thing, him being from Spain. Like, I don't know, or it could just be an amalgamation of all those factors. But there are times when his writing and descriptions of women are very objectifying, very old school, like men and husbands own their wives, or they are possessions, like that kind of writing and that kind of voice, and that just does not sit well with me. And there are huge swaths of this book that are just all about men's sexual exploitations with women, and that they are, you know, Don Juans, and like every old man he seems to come across has to tell him about how in his youth he was this Don Juan that could get any woman he wanted, and I'm just like, oh, I'm so tired of it. And we're only like 100 something pages in, so if this continues, it's gonna annoy the hell out of me. So I really hope that as we kind of go through the coming of age portion of this book, as Danielle gets older, that tampers off a little bit, because right now it's just, oh, it's so irksome and is definitely inhibiting my enjoyment of the actually interesting part of this book, which is the mystery of why this mysterious man wants to collect all of this author's books and burn them. I hope that we get more of that and less of objectification of women. So I'll let you know how that pans out as we continue. But right now, it's not looking great. And then I also started the Kamigawa Food Detectives, and that I'm really enjoying. I was a little worried after I finished the Marigold Mind Laundry that maybe Asian healing fiction just wasn't for me, but this one's proving different. I really, really like it. I feel like the translation is done really well. And it's just very cute. And this one's about this mother or father and daughter who own a restaurant, and people come in and describe dishes from their past that they hold a lot of nostalgia for, or, you know, can't quite get right when they're trying to cook it on their own, and they just like want to taste this dish from their past like one more time. And they, you know, interview these people, and they come in and they try and figure out how to recreate this dish from these people's past. And it's very cute, very wholesome, and makes me very, very hungry. The food descriptions are immaculate and make me want to stop by my local Japanese restaurant and order everything. And that one's really short. Again, I'm only like a chapter or two into that, but I probably get through that pretty quickly. I have a really busy day at work today, but I'm here a little early because I needed to fill up the car with gas, and so I'm gonna put my earbud in, get all of my stuff ready for the day, fold some laundry, and hopefully maybe get another hour or so listened to in the audiobook, and fingers crossed that gets better. but I'll let you know. So I'll see you maybe later tonight or tomorrow, but until then. So I reluctantly finished The Shadow of the Wind. That book was so long and had so much just shit I couldn't have cared less about. If it had condensed itself to just the mystery of this book and the author, and that, probably would have enjoyed it 10 times more. But we spent so much time just going over unnecessary things, and the amount of just like sexual humor of like, I mean, the amount of references to tits and erections and was just too much. Like, again, I'm not a prude or anything. Like, I don't mind books about, you know, coming of age and stuff where teens are exploring that and everything, whatever, fine. But I feel like every conversation turned sexual in some way, even if it was supposed to be funny. And it wasn't funny, it was annoying. You could 100% tell that this was written by a man and not in a good way. Because anytime you were talking about women, it was very objectifying. The only time anything positive was said about a woman was when it was a woman that was like of marriage quality. Otherwise, nothing positive could have been said about a woman or portrayed in a positive light. And even like there was one point where they were in like an old folks home, and all of the elderly were described as basically just like idiots near death. Like, and it's like, just because you're old doesn't make you senile and useless. It was just so heavily male dominated, and anytime you did get a different character of any sort of difference, they weren't portrayed a very positive or kind light. I definitely just kind of popped my audiobook on a much faster speed than I would normally read it, just to get it done and over with. And even when the mystery kind of started solving itself, it wasn't all that satisfying or interesting. So for this book being touted as kind of like a modern classic, I don't get it. I really, really don't. If you've read this and have loved it, I would really like to hear your opinion and why you loved it so much, because maybe I'm just missing something. I don't know. I think I'm gonna give it like 2, maybe 2.5, just because the audiobook narrator was spectacular, and I wish I could find more stuff narrated by him that just wasn't this book. But I've only got one more to read, the Food Detectives, and I am really liking that one, so I feel like a light at the end of this tunnel, because other than the first book I read, which was Britt Marie Was Here, that I loved, everything else has been a dud. So hopefully I can bookend it and finish up with something really good too. So hopefully I will finish that book today, maybe tonight, because I really need to get this video edited and then posted for tomorrow morning. So I've got some reading to do. So hopefully on my breaks I can get big chunks of that one done. But I will probably see you later tonight. Well, I'm happy to say I did it. I read all 5 translation books for the HRCYED translation challenge. So the challenge was to read 5 books, all translated from different languages. So I had Spanish, French, Korean, I always get it, Swedish, I'm pretty sure, and Japanese. The recent one I finished it last night, was the Kamigawa Food Detectives. This was, I gave it 5 stars. It was exactly what I expected from healing fiction. It was very sweet, it was very wholesome, it was important things to say in a subtle and not like heart-wrenching way, but just in kind of this heartwarming way of teaching a lesson. It was so good. So each chapter is sectioned into a different client that they're looking for this, trying to rediscover this dish that was from their past. So like chapter 3 was mackerel sushi, and so very sweet, and I could see myself rereading this, especially, you know, after losing someone or anything like that. So it was just what I expected from healing fiction, and I definitely will pick up more of it now, hoping to find things like this, because this was just wonderful. I'm curious, if you want to leave comments down below, if there's any food or particular dish that you're really nostalgic for but can't seem to like find a modern version of it, or the same flavor or the exact same thing. Like, I was racking my brain the entire time reading this, trying to think of like what my example of this would be, and I couldn't think of anything in particular other than something as dumb as, I remember like Kraft macaroni and cheese, but in the shape of like the Rugrats, the old cartoon from the 90s, being like so much better tasting than just normal macaroni and cheese with the elbow noodles. And even like the shaped macaroni and cheese when they shaped them like SpongeBob instead of the Rugrats. And I don't know why, but my kid brain just remembers it tasting so much. It was so much better. It was elevated experience in macaroni and cheese. So I'm curious if anyone else has a memorable dish or food cooked by a loved one or something that you haven't had in a long time and just have really fond memories of. Like, I'm a big foodie. I love cooking. So I'd love to hear what your dish would be if you were to have the food detectives try and find it and recreate it for you. But 5 stars, loved it. Would highly recommend to anyone who's looking to start dipping their toes into healing fiction. And the first book I finished was Britt Marie Was Here. I want to say I gave this like 4.25, 4.75. This was lovely. I always put off Frederick Bachman because I know he's going to break my heart, but in a good way. This just confirmed it again that I do really love his stuff, and I need to keep picking it up because I always have a good time with it. And I liked this one in particular based on its found family element. Kind of a healing fiction as well, in a different sort of way, a little less wholesome, a little bit more heartbreak, but still healing in its own way. And I guess we're kind of just going down from favorite to least favorite. So next would be the complete set of Persepolis. This I gave 3.5, something in that area. Again, I really enjoyed it. It's a nonfiction, it's a memoir in graphic novel form. I really enjoyed the first half of it, especially when it was really delving into the history of the Islamic Revolution and what that was like living in Tehran at the time, especially as a young girl. I'm a huge history nerd. I'm a huge history buff. If you can't see my degree right there, it's in anthropology and history. Anything I can get my hands on to read about history, I'm all into it. So first half, that was more history based, definitely held my interest a bit more than the second half. But I would highly recommend, if you're looking for a memoir, just to, you know, learn a little something about someone else's experience in the world, especially during a tough, very tough time. And I'm pretty sure it's a movie as well, so maybe I'll try and find the movie and see how that compares. Next was my first delve into healing fiction that didn't quite go so well, was The Marigold Mine Laundry. I gave this 2 stars, 2.5. I had a hard time with the language. I feel like the translation just wasn't very good. It translated very simply, and sometimes the phrases just came off very childish in the way that was translated. So maybe in its original Korean it didn't come off that way, but especially the way it was translated into English, it did. And I had a hard time with that kind of childish basic language when talking about some pretty tough things when it comes to mental health and struggling mental health. So it felt a little disjointed for me. I loved the idea and the concept of it, of, you know, this woman who could magically, you know, erase people's memories or things they wanted to get rid of. So I loved the concept of it, and the execution, it's hard to say if the execution was done well in its original Korean, which is why it was a bestseller over there, and maybe it was just an error in translation, but not my favorite. And then finally, my least favorite of the 5, The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Rios Zafón. This, probably I'd get about 2 stars. Again, I feel like I'm giving it that extra star just because I really liked the audiobook narrator. But this was just so disappointing. It was always touted as like, you know, a new modern classic, a must read on like so many like must read lists. And I was just disappointed because the mystery was interesting. The concept of the book was interesting. You know, this book that is being hunted down by this mysterious man so that he can burn it, and he's burning all of this author's books. And there's this big wrapped up mystery in it, and it's so like very fascinating. I would have loved it if that was the entirety of this 500-page book, but it wasn't. You spent so much more time in this coming of age story of Danielle, again, which is fine. If that coming of age story wasn't so potty humor, I don't know like what the best phrase for it is, but I could have dealt with a lot less objectification of women, tits talk, erection talk, Don Juan talk. Like, I feel like every conversation turned into this like I had incredible sexual exploits when I was younger and good looking kind of conversation. So I don't know. I don't get it. If you've read this and really liked it, tell me what I'm missing. Like, I know that there were bigger things being said about, you know, culture as a whole, wartime as a whole in this book, and you know, I might have appreciated it better if I could have, you know, focused in on those things, but I just couldn't get past the crude humor in it that kept distracting me from what I think was actually important about this book. I wouldn't recommend. Again, if you read it and could appreciate it for the modern classic it is, please tell me about why you liked it down below. I would really like to hear, because I feel like I missed something. I'm glad it's finally off my shelves. It's been on my shelves forever, so, and taking up quite a bit of space. So thankfully now I can get rid of it and open up some more space for something new. These are all the books I read for the translation challenge for HRCYED. I'm so glad that I'm moving along in this and keeping up with it. I feel like a vlog with 5 books in it for me is it's a feat and a success. So I'm glad to have finally finished it. But I hope you enjoyed this vlog, and I will see you in the next video in the next vlog. But until then, happy reading. I'll see you then.